Okay, guys. So, this is a response to the Demon Slayers cult or covering video that they put out last night. I often wonder I often wonder why these people bother opening their mouth. They only make it worse for themselves. It's amazing. And I have to tell you, in all honesty, out of the four of them, I am most greatly disturbed by Mike Signorelli. It was amazing to me as they were getting into the area of cult, and Vlad Savchuk was reading what a cult was. Either Mike Signorelli left the podcast, or his what they were saying was his equipment was malfunctioning during the cult aspect. Everything that Vlad Savchuk was saying, all the 5 steps that they were saying about what cult was, described Mike Signorelli. All of it, without a doubt. If you listen to Mike Signorelli's video about what is a covering, is it a covering or a cult? You see, and he started this. He started this because of his ego. And if he would have just shut his mouth, they wouldn't have had to do this podcast. He is a massive, mega egomaniac, and he is a cult leader. One of the things that Vlad Savchuk was saying, that a cult leader doesn't push for you to have your own individuality. They want you to be them. And that was exactly what Mike Signorelli said in his video on cult or covering, is that these people who see him as a spiritual father, they should behave just like him. They should, before they say or do anything, they should ask themselves, would Mike Signorelli respond this way? Or would Mike Signorelli do it this way? It was exactly what Vlad Savchuk read out about what a cult leader was. And I almost fell off my chair when Isaiah Saldivar, he didn't even realize what he was saying until after he said it. He turned around and said, "Oh, yeah, and everybody's calling themselves an apostle these days." And then he was like, because Signorelli made a face after he said that. And then he was like, "Oh, these people should have just left well enough alone." They all try to give examples of how spiritual fathers positively affected them in their own ministry starting out. And to me, this was all juvenile gibberish. There was nothing of any real substance there. Savchuk was a teenager, and his spiritual father was his uncle, who was a pastor. Isaiah Saldivar was a teenager. His spiritual father was his uncle, who was a pastor. And Pagani, it was, again, family members. It was his father-in-law. And Signorelli was some lady he said was a prophet. He was also a teenager. I want to tell you guys something. I think the saddest part of all of this, no one of these people, not one of these people had a true spiritual father in their life. And this is what they're all missing. And so they're out here trying to do whatever they think a spiritual father is. And it's all about the prosperity gospel for them. It's all about, they're the celebrity pastors out here, the demon slayers, and nobody better dare question them. It's all about people worshiping these people, not about these people serving others. This is key. This is key to seeing what's going on out here. I want to read you a definition that I found on Google about what a spiritual father should be. What is a spiritual father according to the Bible? Until a spiritually mature man reproduces and disciples Christ-like maturity in others, he has no spiritual children and cannot be considered a spiritual father. A spiritual father reproduces spiritual children who have a passionate and intimate relationship with God the Father. And the thing that is most sad about all of this is these four people don't have a spiritually mature relationship with God the Father. That is very, very evident. The way Signorelli just boasts about himself, he's nausea producing, constantly talking about how wonderful he is, how famous he is, how he's got churches all over the place. And he's doing, you know what he reminds me of? Donald Trump. Only Donald Trump can do it the right way. Only Donald Trump can fix this country, and he did squat. What Signorelli has gotten very good at is narcissistic word salad and conning people out of their money. That's what he's gotten very good at. This guy, out of the four of them, I get the worst, disgusting feeling going through me about Signorelli. He's the creepiest out of all of them. Now, Savchuk, he's no angel. We saw what he did to Tori when Tori left his internship program. He actually had people attacking her on the internet, no different than what I'm experiencing right now. People attacking me on the internet, hacked into my YouTube page, showing up at my house, moving in on both houses right next door to me and threatening me. This is what a cult does. This is what Vlad Savchuk had done to Tori when she left his internship program. He is absolutely a cult leader. He is absolutely a warlock. He absolutely does not have a mature relationship with the Lord, with the Father. And therefore, he cannot disciple anybody to have a mature relationship with the Lord. He too is interested in name and fame and money. And Isaiah Saldivar, I think Isaiah Saldivar is probably the saddest case out of the four of them. He is in such delusion. This guy has no clue what happened to him. And he keeps bringing up his Uncle Nino, who supposedly was his spiritual father, who was looking out for him. He brought up something last night that he wanted to go to some place and his uncle told him no. These were all immature, juvenile stories that they all told because none of them have ever had a spiritual father. And yet they're out here. They actually were putting me down, calling me a false prophet, saying that if I didn't have a spiritual father, then I wasn't legitimate. I'm more legitimate than these people will ever be. And that was Signorelli coming out at me. So I want you guys to understand how I go back at Signorelli. He's got it coming. This guy, all this time, all these 2 years, not only did he start the Demon Slayers attacking me because I dared to correct the cult leader, but he has been all this time, this 2 years, although he hasn't been making videos going at me, he's been starting smear campaigns on me in the background, telling everybody I'm a false prophet, telling everybody not to listen to me. Oh, this guy is not getting picked on by any stretch of the imagination. As I told you all, I can see right through every last one of them. The last place that this guy needs to be is the pastor of a church. That's the last place this guy needs to be. Or what Isaiah Saldivar was saying last night was that his uncle was supposedly there to guide him and correct him, and his uncle would go to all his speaking engagements. Well, let me tell you what actually happened to Isaiah Saldivar. And the sad thing that he said was, if it wasn't for his uncle, he wouldn't be where he is today. And I absolutely agree with him. I absolutely agree with him. And sadly, his uncle is going to have to answer for his part in where Isaiah Saldivar is today. Because let's go to the Bible, shall we? 1 Timothy 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. Here is a trustworthy saying: whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not paying people on the internet to go and be your bodyguard to shut people up who are telling the truth about you. Yeah, a pastor is not supposed to be doing stuff like that. Not a lover of money. That goes against all four of them. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him, and he must do so in a manner worthy of full respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? Here's the important one. He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. This is the one where Isaiah's uncle has failed him tremendously. Isaiah's testimony is he was 19 years old when he got saved at that church. The other question is, where was the pastor of that church? And Isaiah has recently gone back to that church where he got saved at, and he recently interviewed his pastor. And the pastor said he's been watching his whole career. Where was that pastor? Why did that pastor not counsel them to not make Isaiah go on all of those teaching events? Because what happened to Isaiah? Exactly what the Bible said. Exactly what the Bible said. He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. Pride. Pride. Isaiah Saldivar has got another mega ballistic sized ego. He believes that anything he says, the whole world listens to. He is so important. And he calls himself the leader of the charismatic movement. Exactly what the Bible warned about having new converts teach in the church so that they won't become conceited, is exactly what happened to this guy. And his uncle takes responsibility for that. Isaiah did not have a spiritual father. If he had a spiritual father, his spiritual father would have made him develop his relationship with the Lord and never go on all of those speaking engagements to puff up his ego. Got him on Sid Roth, everything. There's no way that this kid should have been doing any of these things. But this is what his uncle, his spiritual father, told him to do. And he's sitting last night as if he knows what a spiritual father actually is, and it benefited him in some way. It absolutely did not. Just look at Isaiah Saldivar today. He has an affinity for witches and warlocks. And oh, yes, one of the things he said before they ended their little charade last night was he reinforced at what a good person Jenny Weaver was. You see, it doesn't matter to these people that it doesn't matter to the demon slayers that these people are using demonic powers on innocent people. And you have to ask yourself why. Because any true man of God would be outraged that people would be out here using demonic powers on innocent, naive Christians. Pagani actually stood up for Richard Lorenzo Jr. He has no discernment whatsoever. Or he just doesn't care. He's that demonized. The way Pagani talks about he's a street thug, I would think he would have street smarts, which tells me that he probably does know what he's saying and he just doesn't care. None of these people supposedly having a spiritual father has done anything for them because they are not spiritually mature. None of them. They have no right to be telling anybody else what to do with their life. Oh, the other thing that Vlad Savchuk said about what a cult leader does, a cult leader tells their followers what to do with their money, and no pastor has any right to tell people what to do with their money. Well, Signorelli tells his people all the time what to do with their money. He tells them all the time they better tithe. This also goes against the New Testament. These people do not teach according to the Bible. They don't care, actually. All they care about is that people worship them and see them as superstars and that they send them their money. That's all they care about. They're friends with witches and warlocks. They themselves went to a warlock for spiritual powers and to learn the occult. Why would anybody on this internet take these people seriously any longer? And I felt actually sad for Pagani last night. Pagani, out of the four of them, was the only one. After Isaiah told all of them, say a last word if they wanted to, Pagani was the only one that actually prayed. And he prayed for the demon slayers, that the demon slayers would never turn into these people that they were talking about, these cult leaders. And I'm sorry to inform Pagani, but they already have. They already have turned into these people that they were discussing last night because they're not spiritual fathers. They're not spiritually mature themselves. He, of all people, is still running around, repping the Bronx. There's no spiritual maturity anywhere in that guy. None whatsoever. Same thing goes for Signorelli. Signorelli has got the darkness surrounding him that is more than I can even explain to you people. I get such a disgusting feeling when I look at that guy. He's got massive darkness around him. Which I guess is why he's always around Jenny Weaver. If a person is a true man of God, and even if they made a mistake, it sounded like Pagani was repenting yet last night for the things that he's done, like going to Lovi for impartation, for the occult teachings. It sounded like Pagani was repenting for that last night. And if that was the case, I hope it was. If that was the case, God bless him. He's got to have a backbone. He's got to grow a backbone and break away from these other demon slayers because they have no care or concern about anyone but themselves. And if Pagani has the courage to start his ministry in the light of Christ, He may take it somewhere. As of right now, they're all walking in darkness. It's plainly evident. It's all over them. All of them. It's all over them. But Signorelli has got it the worst. He's got massive darkness all around him. And every single thing that Savchuk brought up, every single point that Savchuk brought up with regard to a cult leader, described Signorelli. And it was hysterical to me that when they started talking about cults, all of a sudden, Signorelli got off the screen. Got off the screen. You guys out here, you need to start waking up. The thing that Signorelli said that was very, very interesting. He started talking about this spirit of deception that is all over the church right now, that people can't see the good from the evil. And I agree with him. I agree with him. For anyone that is looking to these four as if they are godly men and that they are even teaching the Bible, they are in a massive deception. They are in a massive deception. And this is all Signorelli knows how to do, is talk about how wonderful he is, how anointed he is, what a renowned prophet he is. Never once has the guy ever repented. He's pure darkness. And that was plainly evident last night. Isaiah Saldivar has no care or concern for anybody other than those himself and those in his little clique. As he reinforced that Jenny Weaver was such a good person, he doesn't care that she's using witchcraft on people. He doesn't care. None of them care. They all support John Ramirez too. He's another one. He was a high priest in a satanic cult. He's not fully delivered of all those demons. And he had powerful, massive demons. He's not delivered of all those demons. What is he doing? He's putting demons in people. These are the friends of the demon slayers. They should never be anyone's spiritual father, ever. The only spiritual father anyone needs is the Lord Jesus Christ. And God the Father is the only father that we are to have. Cult leaders make you call them Papa Sigs and Papa and Mama Pagani. Cult leaders do that. The same way TB Joshua did. They all called him Daddy and Papa. All cult leaders do this same exact behavior. What they put out last night was extremely telling. And it is something that everyone should look at. If you watched it last night, you should watch it again now after you heard my video. I have it in the description. These people do not belong behind a pulpit. They absolutely do not belong trying to cast demons out of anybody. Because they're not operating from the Holy Spirit. And I will double down on that. You guys have a good day.